Have you ever thought of a dream as a gift that keeps on giving? Well, I like to think of dreams that way. And one of the reasons why is because in one single dream, you can have a glimpse into your past, insight into your present, and even a glimpse into the future or what is to come. I had this dream several years ago, and I like to think of it as a transition dream. So, what happened was in the dream, I was in a swimming pool. And while I was in the pool, there were so many people around me. Everybody was having a good time. They were splashing, playing, interaction. It was just a really good moment in that pool. Well, in the next scene of the dream, I was waking up. Well, apparently, I think I had become so comfortable. I just laid back and was enjoying myself, and I fell asleep. So when I woke up and I looked around, I saw that everybody that was in the pool with me before was gone. There was not a single soul in the pool. And as I looked around, not only were all the people gone, but I realized that the water was gone as well. And not only were the people gone, not only was the water gone, but I realized that somehow I just had this knowing, in a dream, you just kind of have a knowing. I knew that it was very, very late. And I thought even that it was like 3 a.m. or just some really ungodly hour in the morning and that it was going to be totally pitch black outside. Well, when I realized everyone was gone and the pool was empty and that it was so late or early in the morning, all of a sudden I became afraid because I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to go out in the parking lot because I couldn't just stay there. I knew I was going to have to leave. I'm going to have to go out in the parking lot all by myself. No one's going to be with me. I'm going to be in the dark. I don't know what's out there. All I know is I'm alone, it's dark, and I'm going to have to do this all by myself. Well, I was trying to build up the courage to leave that area, and not to mention it was an indoor pool. We grew up in an area where there were a lot of indoor pools, and so I was inside this indoor pool. So I'm building up the courage, trying to get myself to the point where I'm ready to go outside, but I figured in the meantime, I might as well do something constructive. So I looked around in the pool. The water was gone, but I noticed there were like these white clumps, and it kind of seemed like that salt that you would put in water so that it softens the water or cleanses the water. I'm not really sure exactly what the salt does. I could tell that this salt was there because at one time it was beneficial to the water and the pool, but now that the water was gone, it didn't need to be there anymore. And so I looked at the salt. It was white, it was clean. There was nothing dirty or gross about it, but there was a drain nearby. So I said, well, I might as well just clean out this salt and get rid of this stuff in the pool while I'm here waiting all by myself. So I started to pick up the clumps of salt and shove them down the drain. Well, after I got done with that, I finally realized the time has come. It is time to leave this pool. You're just going to have to suck it up and go outside all by yourself. So I made up my mind and I was getting ready to leave the pool when all of a sudden, someone that I know and love, that was a leader in my life, they walked in the door, and when they came in, they weren't on the floor level with me. They were actually up on a raised area where there was a railing and a walkway above. But they walked in eyes straight forward, and they started to march across that hallway that was open to where I was below. Not only did they come in, but they had a group of people behind them. Now, I didn't make eye contact with any of these people, but just something inside of me got so excited. Number one, because I realized that somebody I know and love had come in the door, so I was no longer alone. But number two, they brought this group with them, and I could just feel on the inside, I was like, oh man, this is my tribe. These are my people. Now, they didn't look like me. They didn't act like me. They didn't sound like me. They really weren't doing anything. I just had this knowing on the inside that my people, my tribe had arrived. So not only was I so relieved that I didn't have to go outside by myself, but I was so excited because my people had come. And not only that, but I looked up at the clock. I remember after they came in and I felt this excitement and relief, I looked at the clock. Now, all this time I'm thinking it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just some crazy hour. But when I looked at the clock, I noticed that it was only 11 o'clock. Now, we'll talk about why that's significant in just a minute. So dreams are a gift that keeps on giving. It can speak to your past, it can speak to your present, it can speak to your future, all at the same time. So I wrote this dream down, I recorded it, and of course I knew that it had some application at the moment because I knew I was in a season of transition. And when we started this journey, I shared with you how I went through an extraction, and I'll post that video here or here. You can click on it if you want to and go back and watch it. Just to recap about one of the seasons of transition that I've been through that has been really impactful on my life and kind of brought me into a new place. But I knew I was in a season of transition. And I knew that when I was in the pool in the beginning and there were all the people there and we were all just having a good time, that spoke to a season that I had just come out of. I was really in a strong community of people that I knew, that I loved, that I enjoyed. And there was just all kind of life and all kind of activity going on. Well, when I fell asleep and woke back up, of course, everybody was gone. Well, that was the moment that I was currently in when I had the dream. And that dream was so encouraging to me because I was in that season where I felt like I was in an empty pool. Anybody can relate to that, I'm sure. You feel like you had your people, but they're gone now. You had your environment, but it's gone now. Everything has changed, and I'm in this place all by myself. I'm all alone. Well, I just want to focus on that aspect of the dream today. We'll probably break it down into 3 different points. I was reading over this dream and thinking of what we could extract and share that's been beneficial in my own journey, but we'll talk about that in probably the next 2 videos. But in this video today, I just want to share about how that moment when we realize that we are alone can seem very frightening. But we don't have to be afraid as though that was the end of something. Really, it's the beginning. So in my waking life, I was in that season where I felt like I was in that empty pool. Now, even though that's where I was at the time, the dream didn't finish with me in an empty pool. I went through a few phases before I had that relief of the people that I knew and loved coming in through the door. So I was in a place where I felt alone, but I could look forward and say, you know what? I'm going to take this dream as a promise that even though I'm in a season where I feel that I've been extracted, there is a day coming where I will find my tribe. There is a day coming that I will be reconnected with people that I can bond and connect with and join with. Even though I wasn't in that season in the moment, even though it didn't come quickly, I held on to that dream to give me hope to move forward, because those seasons of transition can be very tricky and we can start to feel like it is the end. Something has ended, or we can even feel like we did something wrong. There was nothing wrong that happened. There was no mistake that had taken place. It was just life. It was just life moving forward. But while life moves forward, we do go through seasons of transition. So if you're in that season of transition where you feel like life has abruptly stopped, you woke up all of a sudden and everything was over, everything ended, everything you knew and loved had changed, guess what? It's just a transition. It's just for the moment. One of the things that stood out to me was when I looked up at the clock at the end of the dream. In all actuality, it was only 11 o'clock. Well, if you're familiar with numbers, you probably already know that the number 11 can just represent transition. You're not at the new day yet. The new day is 12 a.m., but I was at 11 o'clock. So it wasn't the end for me in that moment. And I just want to share with you, it's not the end for you either. It wasn't the end. It's just a transition, and it may be quiet, but we're going to talk in the next couple videos about what we can do in those quiet times of transition to prepare us for that next season. And not even just to prepare us for that next season, but just to learn how to enjoy the quiet times of life. There are quiet seasons, and I believe those quiet seasons can be even more productive than the outward expression where people are able to see what's coming out of us in those seasons where it's presented for all, in those seasons where we're living it outwardly, because we're only able to live outwardly what has really taken place on the inside. And usually that happens in those quiet seasons. So we'll talk more about this next time, talk about what to do in those quiet seasons, how to enjoy them, how to embrace them, and even how they help us prepare for what's coming next. But if you're there, you feel like you're in that pool all by yourself and all has ended, it has not ended. It's just a shift. It's only 11 o'clock. It's not as dark as you think it is. It's only a season of transition. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week where we continue on this journey, what to do in those quiet times of transition. God bless you. Bye-bye.